Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Jawad Hami and these are the headlines. In a tit-for-tat move, the Chinese government has imposed restrictions on staff at the US Embassy and its consulates in mainland China and Hong Kong. This comes after Chinese diplomats in the US were asked to get approval before visiting university campuses or holding events. The two countries are at odds over a range of issues, including trade and the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. China and India have agreed to disengage their troops from a months-long standoff at the disputed Himalayan border of Ladakh. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and his Indian counterpart S. Jaishankar met on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Moscow. In the joint statement, the minister said the two sides agree to abide by all existing protocols and avoid any action that could escalate matters. Germany says 10 EU states have agreed to take 400 unaccompanied minors who fled Greece's largest migrant camp when it was gutted by fire. Close to 13,000 people have been living in squalor in the overcrowded MORIA camp on Lesbos. Families have been sleeping in fields and on roads after fleeing the blaze on Wednesday as authorities struggle to find them accommodation. Pakistan is observing the 72nd death anniversary of the father of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Special events with prayers and recitation of the Holy Quran are being held at the Mausoleum of Jinnah in Karachi today. Political, social and cultural organizations have also chalked out various programs across the country. India has registered 1,209 deaths from COVID-19 and more than 96,000 cases overnight, the world's highest single-day surge so far. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, 5 people lost their lives to the virus overnight, taking the toll to 6,370 with over 300,000 confirmed cases. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 909,000 lives and infected over 28 million people. Those are the headlines and detailed stories right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. In a tit-for-tat move, the Chinese government has imposed restrictions on staff at the US Embassy and its consulates in mainland China and Hong Kong. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry said the move is in response to the US measures announced early this month. This comes after Chinese diplomats in America were asked to get State Department's approval for visiting university campuses or holding events. The Chinese embassy in Washington condemned the move as a gross violation of Vienna Conventions that govern diplomacy. The two countries are at odds over a range of issues, including trade and the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. China and India have agreed to disengage their troops from a months-long standoff at the disputed Himalayan border of Ladakh. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar met on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Moscow. The meeting was aimed at diffusing the tensions after troops on both sides of the border resorted to aerial fighting for the first time in decades. In the joint statement, the minister said the two sides agree to abide by all existing protocols and avoid any action that could escalate matters. Wang said China-India relations have once again arrived at a crossroad, but he said New Delhi and Beijing are not rivals or a threat to each other, and are cooperation partners in each other's developmental opportunities. The two sides reached a 5-point consensus regarding the current situation after the discussion. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has welcomed the intra-Afghan negotiations set to begin in Qatar on the 12th of September. On his way to Doha to attend the talks, Pompeo said it is truly historic that the Taliban and Kabul will have contentious discussions to move forward. Earlier, U.S. Special Envoy for Zalmay Khalilzad said this is a historic opportunity to end the decades-long war that has no military solution. Spokesperson for the Afghan President Siddiq Siddiqui said Kabul has made all the arrangements for its negotiating team's travel to Qatar today. Chairman of the High Council for National Reconciliation Abdullah Abdullah said he will head the delegation to Doha. Pakistan says the regional security situation has become perilous following India's illegal and unilateral actions in occupied Kashmir. Foreign Secretary Suhail Mahmood said this during the 5th virtual session of the Pakistan-Germany Strategic Dialogue. Mahmood highlighted the ongoing military siege and communications blackout in the occupied valley. He said India has intensified ceasefire violations across the line of control and targeted innocent civilians. The top diplomat urged the international community to play its part for the peaceful resolution of the Jammu and Kashmir dispute. He reaffirmed Pakistan's consistent support and positive contribution to the Afghan peace process. Germany says 10 European countries have agreed to take 400 miners who fled Greece's largest migrant camp when it was gutted by fire. Close to 13,000 people have been living in squalor in the overcrowded MORIA camp on Lesbos. Families have been sleeping in fields and on roads after fleeing the blaze on Wednesday as authorities struggle to find them accommodation. Near the ruins of MORIA, local residents blocked roads to stop charities from delivering aid. After visiting MORIA, the European Commission Vice President announced that the camp would be replaced by a modern facility on the same site. The Greek government has sent a team to Lesbos to find a solution locally, but residents oppose plans for a new camp. It is unclear how the fires began, with some blaming the migrants and others blaming Greek locals. France's President Emmanuel Macron says European Union states want to re-engage in a dialogue with Turkey in good faith. Macron hosted the leaders of 6 other EU states, including Turkey's regional rival Greece and Corsica. The meeting was called to find common ground over escalating tensions between Athens and Ankara regarding rival claims over East Mediterranean waters. But the final communiqué said sanctions were on the table if Turkey failed to end its confrontational actions. European naval authorities have detained a merchant ship carrying jet fuel from the United Arab Emirates to Libya. The authorities say they seized the vessel on the suspicion of violating a United Nations arms embargo on Libya. The authorities say the fuel carried by the Royal Diamond 7 was likely to be used for military purposes. They say the vessel, previously heading to Benghazi, has been diverted to an undisclosed EU port for further investigation. The EU has tasked its military mission, IRINI, with implementing the arms embargo in the Mediterranean to stop the supply to Libya's warring parties. Libya's Government of National Accord and the Eastern House of Representatives have reached a deal on allocating key positions in state institutions. 5 representatives from each side participated in the 3-day Libyan dialogue held in Morocco. The joint statement released after the talks says the delegates agreed on the criteria, mechanisms and objectives for the posts. The statement read the two sides will meet again later this month for further discussion on steps to implement the agreement. Libyan dialogue was a follow-up to a call made by the rival administrations to end hostilities and hold nationwide elections. Lebanon and Syria say they have foiled air raids by Israel. The two countries have not reported any casualties. Syrian state media said the military thwarted an attack on Aleppo and shot down several Israeli missiles before they reached their targets. Meanwhile, Lebanon's military said it shot down an Israeli drone that intruded 200 meters into the country's territory. It said the drone violated the UN demarcated blue line, which serves as the official border between Lebanon and Israel. Israel has recently stepped up attacks in the region against what it says are Hamas and Hezbollah targets. A series of explosions have shook Jordan's governorate of Zarqa, the second biggest desert city of the country. Jordan's Minister of State for Media Affairs, Amjad Adileh, says unused mortars at an isolated ammunition depot blew up. He said the initial investigations show that blast was caused by an electrical short circuit. The country's Army General Command says no casualties have been reported so far. The area where the explosions took place houses several US-equipped army bases. These bases serve as the supply hub for other US military in the region. Iran has reacted strongly to the UN Human Rights Council report on the Yemen conflict, rejecting accusations of fueling the conflict. Foreign Ministry spokesman Saeed Khatibzadeh said the report neglects Iran's pivotal role and its unconditional help for a political solution in Yemen. He said putting Iran's name along with the providers of weapons for fueling the Yemen conflict is an absolutely incorrect act. Khatibzadeh said Western states are making billions of dollars providing weapons to a warring party in the Yemen conflict. He said Tehran condemned the conflict from the very beginning as the siege prevents Iran from sending humanitarian aid to the country. India has registered 1,209 deaths from COVID-19 and more than 96,000 cases overnight, the world's highest single-day surge so far. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 908,000 lives and infected over 28 million people. More in this report.
The coronavirus has picked up pace once again as Greece, France and Palestine all reported a record number of daily cases. Australia's Victoria state, which is at the center of country's outbreak, reported 43 new cases and 9 deaths from the virus in the last 24 hours. Authorities said a curfew imposed to contain the state's COVID-19 outbreak will remain in place. State leaders defended regional shutdowns and internal border closures against increased federal government pressure to lift restrictive measures.
This is not about human rights, it's about human life. That's my answer to Mr Wilson, and what he chooses to do with his time is a matter for him. Police need rules they can enforce. This strategy only works if we limit movement, and the traffic data I've given you today makes it very, very clear that the curfew does limit movement.
Canada's second most populous province, Quebec will fine anyone who does not wear a mask in an enclosed public space amid an uptick in coronavirus cases. The number of confirmed infections topped 8 million in Latin America, the region with the most infections in the world. Colombia said international flights to and out of the country will begin gradually starting on September 21st after a 6-month hiatus to contain the virus. Meanwhile, Brazilians are hopeful for an end to the pandemic as the country steps up trials on various possible vaccines for coronavirus.
Brazil is also aiding in the development of other vaccines by 2 institutes, the Butantan Institute and the Piranha Technology Institute. We will have what is the best and most secure for Brazil.
India's health ministry has asked states to allow testing on demand without a doctor's prescription as the country logged another record jump in daily cases. Mainland China reported 15 new cases, up from 7 cases a day earlier. South Korea posted 176 new infections, a slight increase from the 156 cases reported yesterday.
In Pakistan, 5 people have died from COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The health ministry said the country's death toll has reached 6,370. The ministry says 584 people tested positive for the virus overnight. It says over 288,000 patients have recovered out of 300,000 cases reported so far. It says the number of active cases has reduced to nearly 5,800. Sindh remains the most affected province with over 131,000 infections, while Punjab has reported more than 97,000 cases so far. More stories to follow, but right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Microsoft claims Russian, Chinese and Iranian hackers have carried out attacks on people and organizations involved in the 2020 US presidential election. In a statement, the tech giant said the Russian group Stonium attacked more than 200 organizations directly or indirectly tied to the election. It accused China's Zirconium of attacking high-profile individuals, including people linked with Joe Biden for president campaign. The statement read, Phosphorus Group operating from Iran continues cyber attacks on people associated with Donald Trump's campaign. Microsoft said it has directly notified those who were targeted or compromised. The European Union has asked the UK to drop plans to change the Brexit deal by the end of the month or risk jeopardizing trade talks. The UK has published a bill to rewrite parts of the withdrawal agreement it signed in January. Responding, the EU said the move seriously damaged trust and the bloc will not be shy of using legal action against Britain. But Cabinet Minister Michael Gove said Britain has made it perfectly clear it will not withdraw the bill. The government says Parliament is sovereign and it can pass laws which breach the UK's international treaty obligations. Meanwhile, Japan and the United Kingdom have made an agreement over a post-Brexit free trade deal. The agreement was reached at a virtual meeting between Japan's Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi and UK's Trade Secretary Liz Truss. 9 people have been killed in overnight protests against police brutality in Colombian capital Bogota and satellite city of Socoa. Demonstrators were protesting against the brutal killing of a lawyer earlier this week. Nearly 100 police officers and 55 civilians were injured, while dozens of stations were torched with the charged protesters. Police arrested more than 70 protesters, mostly in Bogota. The footage shared on social media shows the victim knelt down to the ground by officers and was subjected to successive electric shocks. Police say the lawyer was found drinking alcohol in the street with his friend in violation of the coronavirus social distancing rules. His family alleged that he suffered further abuse at the police station and later succumbed to the injuries. Pakistan is observing the 72nd death anniversary of the father of the nation, Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Special events with prayers and recitation of the Holy Quran are being held at the Mausoleum of Jinnah in Karachi today. Political, social and cultural organizations have also chalked out various programs across the country. Special editions of newspapers have also been published to highlight the brilliance of a leader who achieved the miracle of attaining a separate homeland for his people without firing a single bullet. Born on December 25, 1876, Jinnah served as leader of the All India Muslim League from 1913 until Pakistan's creation on 14th of August 1947. He then served as Pakistan's first Governor General until his death on September the 11th, 1948. Americans across the world are observing the 19th anniversary of the September 11 attacks. This year's memorial will be different due to COVID-19, where mandatory masks and social distancing protocols will be observed. On this day in 2001, 19 hijackers used 4 commercial airliners to destroy the World Trade Center in New York while damaging parts of the Pentagon. Nearly 3,000 people were killed in the attacks, while over 6,000 were injured. The attacks were the deadliest on American soil since Pearl Harbor in 1941. Washington found Al-Qaeda guilty and, in retaliation, attacked Afghanistan to kill Osama bin Laden. Data from the UN mission in Afghanistan shows the US war on terror has killed more than 100,000 civilians over the past decade. 3 people have been injured in a gas explosion near a hotel in Zhuhai city of South China's Guangdong province. Local media said the 3 injured, with 2 suffering minor injuries and 1 suffering burn, were brought to hospital for treatment. The gas explosion also damaged surrounding stores and residential buildings, with no people trapped. The fire has been put out and the cause of the accident is under investigation. The streets of Washington, D.C. have been flooded after heavy torrential rain fell on the U.S. Capitol. National Weather Service issued flash flood warnings to the residents. The city's fire department responded to over 24 calls for water rescues. The department said firefighters rode a boat to check on submerged cars for occupants along Rhode Island Avenue. Rainfall was forecast to taper off in the area around Washington, D.C., with conditions expected to dry out by tonight. European markets are trading mixed as investors monitor tense negotiations between the UK and the European Union. The pan-European stock 600 is hovering around the flat line, with oil and gas falling almost 1%. London's FTSE is only one in positive territory, while Paris's CAC 40, Frankfurt's DAX and Italy's FTSE all shed fractionally. Earlier, stocks in Asia Pacific traded mixed. Australia's ASX 200 and Seoul's Kospi shed, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng and Japanese bourses made gains. And now the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus News.